Rice.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Attorney-General, Senator Brandis. Yesterday, a group of rainbow families came to Parliament from around the country to talk to the Parliament about the impact the plebiscite on marriage equality would have on them. One child told The Guardian that they were worried it would encourage posters saying children deserve a mother and a father, or that two mums are weird. Can you detail any discussions that you have had with members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender and intersex community about the potential impact of the plebiscite? And have there been discussions with the LGBTI community in other countries who have experienced similar experiences?
Attorney-General, did you hear the entirety of the question?
I think I heard the gravamen.
Attorney-General.
Senator Rice, yes I have, and yes I can. I've had very lengthy discussions with members of the LGBTI community, and I've had lengthy discussions as well, Senator Rice, with people who take a conservative traditional view of marriage. Among the discussions I've had with members of the LGBTI community are discussions with Australian marriage equality and discussions with Australians for marriage equality, the two principal bodies promoting the marriage equality cause. I have had several discussions with those people as recently as yesterday, and they're not the only one, and they're not the only ones of the LGBTI community. But I mention them in particular because they, as you would be aware, Senator Rice, as somebody who follows this issue closely, are the two peak bodies campaigning for marriage equality. Now, Senator Rice, we have discussed the issue to which you have referred. We've discussed all the issues relating to marriage equality and the plebiscite. And one of the things I said to those spokespeople, as I say to you, is that there is now a clear and immediate path to marriage equality in Australia, and that is to submit to the judgment of the Australian people on the 11th of February next year a plebiscite so that they can have their say. You read the opinion polls just as closely as I do, Senator Rice, and you know—
Pause the clock. Order, Senator Rice.
Point of order, Mr President. My question asked about the details of those discussions, not just that you had had the discussions, and whether you had had any discussions with members of the LGBTI community from other countries who had been through similar experience.
Thank you, Senator Rice. They were elements of your question, but I do believe the Attorney-General has been directly relevant throughout his answer. Attorney-General.
I'm sorry, Senator Rice, I forgot that last bit, and the answer to that question is yes too. I have in particular had several discussions with Mr Tiernan Brady, who ran the Yes campaign during the Irish referendum. Now, and it's not my practice to detail confidential conversations because people are entitled to speak to ministers and indeed shadow ministers in confidence. I hope I might be able to elaborate a little.
Thank you, Attorney-General. The time for answering the question has expired. A supplementary question, Senator Rice.
You mentioned the Irish example. I refer to a letter from the co-director of the Yes campaign for the Irish referendum, Dr Grania Healy, which was sent to every member and senator, that urges us not to have a plebiscite if we can avoid it, describing it as a brutal affair. And the letter reports that posters which declared that every child needs a mother and a father were deeply hurtful and upsetting for LGBT-headed families. Do you expect we'd see similar material here under your plebiscite?
Attorney-General.
Well, I'm not familiar with the particular material to which that letter refers, but the short answer to your question, Senator, is no, I do not. Because, Senator, unlike you evidently, I have a much more optimistic view of the Australian people than you seem to have, or than Mr Bill Shorten or Senator Wong seems to have. I believe that this is a country of decent and tolerant people. I believe this is a country in which we can have a civilised and respectful debate about a vexed social issue. I believe this is a country in which we don't merely accept dictation from the political class, but on certain core issues about the nature and structure of our society, of which marriage is one. There is no greater wisdom in this chamber than there is in the streets of any city or town in this country, and that every Australian, every single Australian, has a right to have their say.
Thank you, Attorney-General. Order on both sides. Order on my left. Senator Rice, a supplementary question.
Yes,
a final supplementary question.
the government wants to give $7.5 million to fund the No campaign, most of which one expects will be spent on advertising of one sort or another, including the type similar to that we saw in the Irish referendum, described as a brutal affair. Can the Attorney-General confirm that messages from the No campaign will be classed as political advertising and therefore will not be monitored by the Advertising Standards Bureau and not be required to be factually correct?
Attorney-General.
Senator Rice, before coming to that, I should add a little more information to the answer to your primary question. So, as well as Australian marriage equality and Australians for marriage equality, I've also had meetings with the New South Wales Gay and Lesbian Rights Group, with Ms Shelley Argent of PFLAG, with the Victorian Gay and Lesbian Community Advocates, and others as well. That's not correct, Senator. That's not correct, Senator. That is, Senator. That's not
On
correct.
my left.
There are the principal advocates.
Order. Pause the clock. Order, Attorney-General. Order on both sides. Order on both sides. Senator Rice, a point of order.
My point of order was the relevance to the question. My question was whether the advertising would be covered under covered by the Advertising Standards Bureau or be classed as political advertising.
Thank you, Senator Rice. I will remind the Attorney-General, though he did indicate up front that he was going to address some other remarks before he got to the substance.
Senator Rice, I accept your good faith on this issue, so I just wanted to give you more information in relation to your primary question. Now, in relation to the subject of the supplementary question, as the Prime Minister and Senator Ryan and I outlined yesterday, the plebiscite will be conducted as closely as possible under the Referendum Machinery Provisions Act, which governs issues including the authorisation of advertising.
Thank you, Attorney-General. The time for answering the question